The base is dropped on a new edition of Soccer Down Here. It is a Wednesday. No John today. He is busy being high school football / National Recruiting Day. John, Jarrett Smith is hanging out for a large portion of the show this morning. And Jarrett, you gotta talk me up on this because I can't keep up anymore. I thought we've already had a National Signing Day.
It's complicated these days. A lot of people sign early. There's like the early signing period, or you can.
That's
go
what
ahead
I
and
can't
sign
keep
your
up
LOI.
with at this point. Yeah, I don't know
This is the
when they can sign
one.
and what it is. Okay.
This is the traditional National Signing Day that I believe SB Nation had the blog that I think I don't know who all did it from their college football days when they had like a lot of people over there ended up going on and doing some really good work for national publications. But at one point, they had a post that was like the greatest stories of National Signing Day. My favorite one being when Isaiah Crowell pulls out a small bulldog puppy to announce he signed in Georgia.
Yes.
There was one where like a guy told a coach like, "Hey, coach, I'm not going to come there," and coach is like, "Hey, okay, that's fine. Will you just sign that letter and fax it to me just so I can keep it as a memento?" And he did. And the coach is like, "See, I got a signature. He's with us."
It's a good thing John's not handling the fax machines in these situations. It'd be a problem.
Counterpoint. We wouldn't have that problem because it wouldn't work.
He wouldn't get anybody signed, though.
That's debatable.
I mean,
anyway,
use the Burrow fax instead.
This is the traditional National Signing Day.
Yeah, it's so
where everybody decides who is going to be fired and why their coach sucks.
Right.
And this is peak people tweeting at recruit season.
Yes.
The Rick Rogers saga when he was went to Tennessee over UGA.
Yeah,
all that jazz.
Yeah, I do love that the Auburn fans in the chat. Yes, I'm talking about Mr. Domer is trying to ignore the fact that college football exists now after
they're a basketball school.
Yeah, I just remember for years and years and years, a lot of talk and a lot of fingers pointed and a lot of that going on. And then now it's like, oh, no, that doesn't happen. That doesn't exist.
Well,
and yes,
Auburn's
I'm absolutely
biased.
School. Yeah, that they are for now. Just give Bruce Pearl another year or two. He'll get them in trouble. It'll happen. He's got a track record.
At least he's winning games.
He is. Georgia doesn't know what that's like in basketball, but that's okay. Everybody wants to now avoid the whole thing. But, it's okay. I did not wear one of my new Georgia National Championship shirts today because I didn't want to upset anybody. I wish I had now.
Oh, my God. Well,
you're gonna be seeing a lot of them. Just get over it.
No, it's fine. I have maintained this conversation as our soccer show kicks off with absolutely soccer discussions.
Sure, we're getting there.
I have maintained this conversation with a friend of mine at Georgia State that we ran into this with LSU and Billy Napier going to Florida instead of the Baton Rouge. There's something about big schools not wanting to thinking they're above taking coaches from smaller schools because my God, UGA, Ron Hunter was right there.
Yep.
Tulane's a hot mess. Like he's getting stuff. He's getting something out of Tulane. Ron Hunter's a good coach.
Yep.
Go get him.
Go get anybody. I really don't care on the basketball side at this
Jim
point.
Harris
Go get
Jr.
anybody. No, not him. Except for him. Please not him. He might still have like problems with the NCAA. It's very possible based off what was going on before.
Anybody cause coast for over 5 years.
Yeah. Anybody but him. Georgia can get to the basketball side in a little bit. They're still in the honeymoon period for quite a while. It's okay with the athletic program over there. Absolutely.
They should
Yeah, no, they should. And they've got the soccer coach hired correctly now because that's been an issue too for a while. Kadani McAlpine is a national championship winning coach, and Georgia soccer has never had that either. So I'm step by step, Jarrett. We'll get the basketball program sorted out down the road. That big shiny gold trophy makes things a little bit easier to deal with right now.
I miss the days of the crystal ball, to be honest.
I do too. I don't like the football trophy at all. It looks like a weird, like inverted golden cigar or something. It's really bizarre. It's kind of dumb.
Speaking of weird golden trophies, USA has qualifier tonight to try and go compete for one.
They do. What is this? You're trying to get it to soccer? You're usually the one trying to take it off the roads into different crazy topics and stuff. Before we get there, I want to talk about a game from last night.
There's only so far you're allowed to get into UGA talk before I have to pull you out.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous because I usually don't even throw that in people's faces. But now that we got a national championship under our belts, nobody wants to hear anything about it. Anyway, let's talk about a game from last night that had a first half red card, that had a coach sent off, that had the team with 10 men come back to score twice to level it at 2-2, a golazo to make it 3-2, spectators having to be warned about being out of hand, trash talk, all of that. No, this wasn't in CONMEBOL World Cup qualifying. This was at Decatur High School, Jarrett. Parkview and Decatur, the game that John and I called last night. The boys' game was wild. It would have fit into a South American World Cup qualifying format. It was a lot of fun to call it. You can go back and listen to the ridiculousness. But it was our first high school game of the week. We're going to be doing these all over the state. We are traveling a good bit this season, later in this month and in next month. But really good way to kick it off. Girls game, Decatur won at 3-1. Boys game, Parkview won at 4-2. Good level, some really good individual talent. And speaking about college recruiting, like we started the show with on the football side, you had a lot of players in the boys and girls sides that are being recruited that are going to go on and play in college. Really good level on both sides. It was a lot of fun last night.
Yeah, when you said the crowd got warned for being rowdy, I assumed we weren't talking about combat ball, because to get to the level where the crowd has to be warned, I have assumed they've completed a coup by that point.
Yeah, maybe. There's been a few games that I've wondered about it, but yeah, the student sections were going back and forth. Goals that were being scored, players were taunting the opposing student section. It was wild. It was a lot of fun. My voice is a little shattered this morning, if you couldn't tell, because of it. But no, if you get a chance, whatever schools are near you, take a look at their schedules and go check them out if you're free, because we talk about the club game, the academy game, the player development side, and generally the guys who are going through high school are probably trending to go to college. But I think we're starting to see it now with all these different opportunities, whether it's NPSL with Georgia Revolution, Georgia Storm, whether it's USL League One with your Chattanooga Red Wolves, your South Georgia Tormentas, your Greenville Triumph, all in this region. There are so many different pro options now. I don't think anybody has to go one route through an MLS academy, through the college game, and get drafted. You're going to see some guys that don't get those opportunities at the club level, playing in high school, playing in front of crowds, dealing with crowds that you don't deal with at the club game. You watch a youth club game, you watch an MLS academy game, there's generally not any spectators. You're having to deal with pressure, with being taunted, with being yelled at, with also dealing with, trying not to let your friends down who are yelling for you in the stands. Those are things that do translate to the next level. And it's really cool to see all of these opportunities starting to open up. And just the overall level of the game is dramatically jumping year after year.
Yeah, and I would also wager that little Timmy or Tanya's mom and dad are going to be as rowdy as the fans you would get anywhere else at that age group. High school game parents get a little out of pocket.
No, Jared, it's different. No, I'm not going to let you have that. They get out of pocket,
What?
but they're not taunting other teams. It's not the same thing
Oh
with
no, I'm not talking
somebody's
about
mom
taunting. I'm
yelling.
talking about them getting a little out of pocket.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing. No, I'm not going to let you have that one. If you're playing in front of parents as a young player, it's not the same as playing in front of your student body. And some of these games like we see in Dalton and Gainesville, where you've got thousands of people there, you're seeing like 50 parents, maybe some of them being foolish in an academy game. It's not the same type of preparation for the club game or for the pro game. There is a place for high school soccer, I think, in the overall soccer community and conversation. Is it always going to lead to guys playing professionally? No, that's not what it's there for. But is it going to lead to people like, our crazy selves who feel passionate about the game and talk about it, maybe go on and coach, maybe go on and be administrators, referees, those kinds of things? Yeah, it's a very important area. But that aspect of playing in front of people and dealing with crowds, and not parent crowds where some kids are embarrassed by little Johnny or Jimmy or Tanya or Tammy's mom or dad screaming like a lunatic at the referee. It's different. And I think it's a unique aspect that we're starting to see in some parts of this state and some parts of every state, where you're getting like we've seen it at high school finals. You're seeing student sections do chants that they hear at Atlanta United games. You know, you're getting atmosphere at high school soccer games that we've never had before.
You are, and everything is ramping up in that direction in a good way. And to your point, yeah, there is a place for it because here is the bottom line for everybody. And, whether or not you're part of that playing or whether or not you got a kid, like, look, there's not enough club teams for every human being that wants to play the game. So there are different places that
Mm-hmm.
people play. They play at different levels and they mature and jump at different levels. So the high school game is still important. Even playing pickup, rec leagues is still it's important to the individual.
Yeah,
It matters.
the overall ecosystem of the game needs all of that.
Yeah, yeah. It can't just be academy where we're just looking at it as okay, we're only going to ever pay attention to people in academy. Well, no, that's a dumb idea.
It's this thing where you don't even at the pro level now. You know, I mean, we've had this conversation about guys who've had long, distinguished professional careers and maybe just a cup of coffee with the U.S. men's national team. It's great that we're getting to that point, but I'm excited about guys and what they can give to the game who have long, distinguished careers at the second division level in the United States and the third division level in the United States. You know, you get a guy who plays 10 years for Greenville Triumph and then becomes a coach in the community. I mean, they're going to be a local soccer legend. And we need those people on the men's and the women's side. We need those people to kick it on to the next level. Before we jump into the World Cup qualifiers, burned with a question about the game last night. How was the level the teams play with the ball? Was it all punt and run? It wasn't. In the girls' game, especially, Decatur every single time built out of the back. Even with high pressure, even with Parkview playing a front three that was pressing high, every single goal kick, every single time the ball ended up in the goalkeeper's hands, it was played short and they tried to build up play. Were they always successful? No. But the mentality was there. It was very cool to see. Parkview on the girls' side played much more of a high pressing, trying to win the ball back quickly. They did have a forward who was really good and a handful. Decatur had to usually double team. Parkview tried to play it to her. I mean, it was pretty simple what they were trying to create, but it was effective, except Decatur usually had a second player there to pick up the pieces, break things down, win the ball back. So that was cool to see. It wasn't on the girls' side, it was not at all kick and run. The boys' side was a little more frantic at times. I mean, just because of the nature of this game, I think you had a lot of players who know each other from club games, and you had a lot of kind of trash talking and stuff like that going on. So it's not so much that it was kick and run; it was just frantic. Parkview was more technical team between the two. They were the more composed team. They have a central midfielder who's being linked to Georgia State, among others, and he's legit. He's a junior, and he is absolutely legit.
Georgia State's legit, though.
Yeah, they're getting there. They're getting into that kind of right under the top tier of programs, especially maybe the top tier programs outside of the major conferences on the men's side. So he's a quality player, and he was trying to control the pace. He would speed it up. He would slow it down. Decatur had a lot of really strong, individually talented players, a lot of really good 1v1 players. As the game went on, even playing with 10, they were finding combinations. It wasn't just kick and chase soccer. It wasn't all, possession based, slower paced. It was all pretty fast. But there was a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and a lot of, I think, thought in the way that these teams were trying to play. And, we talk about this with the national teams, and I think high schools are kind of in the same boat because, you only get these players for a really short period of time. You're playing 2 games a week. There's not a whole lot of training you can do in terms of that deep philosophical way of playing. We've had this conversation about Greg Berhalter and style over picking the right players and keeping a system that is easy to drop into because of what national team play is. So I don't think you'll ever see these like crazy deep tactical systems in the high school game. But what's good to see is more coaches with more experience, more coaches with, a deeper background in the game and willing to let talent and skill trump physicality and speed and pace and power. That was really nice to see. And, doing games for the last few years and doing the high school finals, that has been coming. That's growing and growing and growing. And I mean, when you've got a girl for Decatur who scored a just absolute laser from top of the 18, and she tells us the day before the game that her favorite player of all time was Miguel Almiron. Okay, you're starting to see the impact of what an Atlanta United is, what other teams are in their communities. So that's going to affect the way these teams play and these kids play. It's really cool. It's growing. It's so much better than it was 5 years ago. It's going to be even better in 5 more years.
Yeah, it is. And to your point, I mean, it's hard to find that training time on the high school level. Like speaking as
Yeah,
someone who
you
just
just don't
played
have it.
baseball, you're limited, to
Yeah.
you're practicing after, after school, but you don't have a big staff a lot of times, especially some of these smaller schools. You might have,
Yeah.
2 coaches. You can't break out and do position group things. You've got to manage your time wisely, and a lot of times it falls on the kids
Mm.
who want to put in the extra work in their free time. And people's schedules are busy. You don't know what somebody's home life is like. That they have to work, they have to go home and take care of a sibling, they have to go take care of the house, they have to do a lot of things because nobody's home life is ever the same as someone else's, and it has to be under consideration.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think high school soccer compares to top level academy at all. It can't, again, because it's like saying that a national team is a better soccer team in the way that they play than a club. It's not. It can't be because you don't have the training time. When you see back in the day, it doesn't really happen much anymore, outside of kind of preseason friendlies behind closed doors. But go back to the early 90s where you'd see the U.S. men's national team playing club teams in their preseason. Even in their preseason, the club teams had deeper systems of play. National teams are getting guys in for a short period of time. It's tactically very simple, those kinds of things. So it's hard to compare. A club is going to have training sessions 2, 3, 4 times a week, depending on the level, depending on the commitment. And a high school program is going to play 2 games a week and then have a couple of training sessions, and it's going to be after school, and kids are going to have school commitments to deal with too. And it's not the same. The best players in the country will play MLS Next and high level academy, and some of them will play that at the expense of playing in high school. I think where you see the high school programs be their strongest in this manner is in areas outside of the major metro areas. So you go to a Dalton, for example, where those kids might not have an opportunity to play in an Atlanta United academy. It's too far. You can't get to training every day. So a lot of them do play high school, and those games are very good and very intense. It's kind of a unique animal, but I do think that just like I think college still has a place in developing players because pros can't get to everybody. High schools do too, and it's something that I've always taken very seriously. And I loved my time playing in high school and playing in front of crowds and the experiences that I had, and it shaped aspects of how I see the game. So, and kind of got me started on that journey. So I want that for other kids. And when we get a chance to call games and, they get a chance to hear commentators talking about them that you don't normally get at the high school level, that's pretty cool. So we're happy to help, and we're going to do more of it and try to grow that program as much as we can. Let's get into World Cup qualifying, Jarrett. Last night in South America, we got a little more clarity in things before we jump into CONCACAF. 2 more games left in CONMEBOL in World Cup qualifying for everybody. Brazil and Argentina are good. We've known that for a while. Ecuador is not mathematically in. They are all but in. It would take the craziest sequence of events possible, and not just like a win here and a couple losses here and a reasonable score line over here. No, it's nuts. But they drew in Peru. It was a second half goal from Edison Flores of DC United that earned Peru a point. Ecuador's all but in. Uruguay is now, after winning 2 in a row under Diego Alonso, they're in the final automatic spot with 22 points. That's 4th. Peru's in the playoff spot with 21. There's 6 points left on the table for everybody. Chile has 19 points in 6th place. They won yesterday in Bolivia. Alexis Sanchez with 2 goals and a 3-2 win. Colombia is in 7th place, 17 points. They lost yesterday in Argentina 1-0. Bolivia is still barely kind of sort of alive, but they need a ton of help after losing 2 games in this window. They are on 15 points. Everybody else is out. Colombia has been the shock. And Colombia, with all the talent they have incredibly disappointed. And going to Argentina, who's already through, bunch of players missing, players suspended, no Messi. They lose 1-0, and they are in massive amounts of trouble.
They are, and I don't know how they get out of it.
I'll tell you how they get out of it, though.
How do they get out of it, Jason?
The 2 games they have left, because they host Bolivia in the first game of the March window. They go to Venezuela for the last game. That's possibly how they get out of it, because they have the easiest road in by far.
Ooh. Okay.
But they got to do something they haven't done in a while, which is win.
I was about to say you have to get 3 points. It's the same conversation we have about Mexico of, oh, they got an easy road. I'm like, I get that they have an easy road, and Mexico should be fine. You still got to win games.
Yeah,
I feel like y'all have had a couple games you should have won. Remember, you went a man up against Jamaica, gave up a goal, and had to rescue it in the last 10 minutes. It shouldn't have been that difficult.
Right, but they did. In this case, Colombia has not done those things yet. We'll get back to Mexico. Hold your fire on Mexico. We'll come back to them in a second. Other games in the last rounds in South America that are going to decide this thing. The important ones in match day 1 in March. Uruguay hosts Peru. That's 4 versus 5. So one of the teams in a spot is going to drop points in the first match day in March. Keep that in mind. That keeps the door open for Colombia to host Bolivia, win, get to 20. Peru might still be on 21, or Uruguay might still be on 22. Colombia can keep in shouting distance there. Chile on that first match day in March, they go to Brazil. I don't expect Chile to get any points out of that. They'll probably be on 19 at the end of it.
Probably not.
Ecuador goes to Paraguay. If Ecuador gets a point anywhere in these last 2, they're automatically in. They could lose both and still get in. They'll probably get what they need in Paraguay in the first match day. So it'll come down to Uruguay, Peru, Chile, Colombia. Last match day. Ecuador's hosting Argentina. Bolivia's hosting Brazil. Put those to the side. Chile is hosting Uruguay. Colombia goes to Venezuela. Peru hosts Paraguay, who was eliminated last night. You've got
poor Miggy.
4. Yeah. You got 4 really big games. 1 on the first day with Uruguay, Peru, and 3 on the final match day. They'll all be at the same time. It's going to be an absolute crapshoot between those 4, Colombia, Chile, Peru, and Uruguay. I think Uruguay with Diego Alonso has that cushion. They should get into at least the playoff spot. The other one, I don't know. Peru maybe has the momentum after pulling a point out of the last one and going to Colombia and winning in this window, but they got to keep that momentum over now a period of time where they won't be together, come back in March, and Peru has to deal with a trip to Montevideo and then hosting Paraguay in the last day. It's going to be a wild finish in South America.
A Paraguay team that, remember, last World Cup cycle just needed a result, I believe, to get into the World Cup and did not get it. Paraguay might be out of it, and Paraguay walking into that Peru game with a grenade in hand, happily wanting to ruin Peru's day will be a thing.
That's how Paraguay has been. And in this cycle, although now they have a new manager in Guillermo Barros Schelotto, they have been a difficult team to beat. They've been pretty defensive. They've been honestly pretty boring, pretty bad. But could they go in that last day with motivation? Like, yeah, let's ruin their day across the way. Let's make them cry at the end of this thing. Yeah, sometimes that's all you need. We'll see if Venezuela, Bolivia can dial up that kind of energy because they're going to play spoilers as well. But Ecuador's point last night is really the biggest storyline out of South America. From an Atlanta United perspective, Joseph Martinez scoring for Venezuela. They're down 4-0 at that point. It makes it 4-1 for a final, but a good goal from Joseph for Venezuela.
Yeah, pretty goal. A little bit of head tennis from everybody. I was genuinely amused because the lead up to it is literally people heading the ball like 30 yards to each other back and forth until it falls to one of the Venezuelan attackers who just kind of flicks it backwards blindly. It takes a bad hop, defender misses it, and then Jason, for me, this is what I've been missing from Joseph, is that 15-yard burst that was unholy before the knee injury that looks like he might have it back, which is terrifying for everyone else because once the touch is bad, Joseph hit sixth gear, burns the defender, and does one of my favorite things, and he's not the only one to do this. Other great strikers do it. It's like they're in the mind of the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper is thinking, okay, I have 2 steps until he's going to take 2 steps, line this up, and fire it. It's like the goalkeeper knows what Joseph's going to do, so Joseph just does it a split second earlier and leaves the keeper grounded.
Yeah, he's scored so many like that where it's just a little lean. It's just a little drop of a shoulder, just enough to make the goalkeeper give themselves away. And he scored so many goals for Atlanta that way. Good to see him getting that back.
Sticks into my mind.
Yeah, I
mean, 2019.
Yeah, but there's so many like that. I mean, that's maybe the prototype of it, but that's the goal that you think of when you think of Joseph Martinez is making the run, getting the ball played into him as a through ball, and being 1v1 with a goalkeeper and making it easier than you thought it would be. Like that's generally how I think of a Joseph goal. It's just a split second of just a little movement to make the goalkeeper give themselves up. It's so impressive. It's so difficult to do. He gets that back, and I saw late in the season a couple of times where it felt like, oh, that first step's coming. That first step's coming back. There was one specifically that I'm like, oh, it's 2018 all over again. But it was hard to maintain that. Let's hope that with some time off, with some rest, with some work, with his trainers, that is coming back and he's putting things past him. As we all get older, and some of us know this better than others, we lose some space. We lose some speed. We lose some of our physical capabilities, Jarrett. You're going to know this sooner rather than later. And,
buddy, I already know it.
Hey.
I caught for years. My body started breaking down early.
Hey, trust me. I'm ahead of you on this game. But you also learn a few things. He'll get some of that pace back from what we saw last year, but he won't be what he was when he was a kid again. But he's a lot smarter player. You can get some of that pace back, make those runs that he is so known for, time them. He'll be fine, and he'll be very productive this year. That's a goal. That's a goal that is a very good sign for Atlanta United.
Agreed.
All right. U.S. men's national team. We do have an update on one U.S. men's national team player, and this is not a shock. It had been reported like 2 weeks ago, and then there were all these like, oh, no, wait, there's another club coming in. Oh, no, wait, there's this going on. Oh, no, it's going to be something else. Oh, no, oh, no, oh, no. And it never was because Inter Miami announces that DeAndre Yedlin has joined the club. They signed him with the number 1 spot in the allocation ranking that they got in the trade with Charlotte for Christian McCoon. This was reported as done not reported as done. It was obviously something going on when DeAndre Yedlin's agent tweeted about coming back to the U.S. from Turkey with a plane emoji like 2 weeks ago. But then Hull City was reportedly linked and 2 or 3 other places. And no, none of that's happening. DeAndre Yedlin will be leaving the national team at the end of tonight's match and going to Fort Lauderdale.
I mean, we had heard the rumors that he was going to come back stateside, and here he is. And I want to see I haven't watched Yedlin closely in so long. I'm honestly kind of excited. I don't mean it in a facetious way either. Like, I'm kind of excited to see how he looks at this stage.
Good.
Yeah, he's a little bit older too, and I think he's savvier as opposed to just the raw burner, than just the raw burner he was when he was young and breaking in. So I'm excited to see how it looks.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen him with the national team over the last few months. I'm not studying the Turkish league super close, just seeing some highlights. He's a different player than he was. He's not the pure speed, get up the wing, be okay defensively, but impact the game in the attack. He's more of a complete right back. He'll be one of the best right backs in the league, I think. It's a good signing. They needed it desperately. And now the remaking of Miami's defense is complete. with the additions they've made, and we will see how the rest of it goes. But that was kind of obvious they were going to pull the trigger on that one when they got the allocation spot. So Yedlin tonight is a question. Do we see DeAndre Yedlin this evening? Do we see anybody's face this evening with playing in what could be single digits? There's talk about requests to approve, and I'm not sure what all they can approve or what will get approved. There's limitations in what you can wear outside of your uniform, neck gaiters and things, like toboggans and whatever. There's limits in all of that. I don't know what they're going to allow them to do, but this is shaping up to be one of those games, and we see it maybe once every few years, mostly when we're talking about American football, where whoever deals with the conditions better is going to be the one who wins. That should be the United States. Honduras has played 2 games in this window. They played them both at home. They're out. I can't imagine their motivation is very high for this thing. That should be the United States. But you still have to put the ball in the back of the net to make all of this worth it. And that's not going to be easy.
Preferably in the first half. Please. God.
Please. I'm with you. I honestly do not care about anything other than 3 points in this game. And I hate that that's where we're at. It should not be the case. We should be talking about what Greg Berhalter will do to improve the attack in the first half, what he will do tactically to exploit Honduras. We should be talking about all that. It's really not going to be the storyline because it is going to be so difficult to play. So difficult to play. It will really come down to the individual's mentality, mental toughness, physical toughness, all of these aspects that you could have the great tactical plan and not be able to execute it because it's going to be probably with wind chill in negative temperatures. It's crazy.
It is. My worst nightmare is Honduras decides to come in here and try and, hey, we'll just turn this into a street fight and make the Americans regret playing in freezing temperatures. Whatever. We'll just run around and run into people. We don't care.
I don't buy them running around. I think they'll sit back. I think they'll make it difficult. Absolutely. But I think it will be from
I'd be terrified.
5-4-1, 6-5, 6-4-0, like whatever defensive formation they can come up with where they can just sit back and soak up pressure. That's what I'm expecting out of them.
I would be terrified to sit back in this weather and just get stiff. And I know that you're talking about like bringing a knife to a gunfight if you're trying to like play man up. Well, not man to man, but like trying to go at a better team. But sitting back and sitting in a shell, especially if America gets the idea of, hey, we can just pass this thing around and they'll eventually freeze to the spot, and we'll have to come out with an ice pick and detach them and take them inside. It'd be really, it'd be tough for me to sit back on this and freeze while the other team is able to run and at least try and generate something resembling body warmth. But we'll see. I'm very interested in the lineup. I'm very interested to see what happens at striker because as a longtime Jossie Zardes fan who likes Zardes, he is a good striker. He has been for a while. The LA stuff is still kind of a joke that lingers over him. Jossie ain't it. He wasn't it against Canada. He shouldn't have been it against Canada in hindsight. And I don't necessarily want him starting this game because I don't want this to have to be a situation where subs have to be made at the 60th minute to go change things up.
I agree. But I just don't know how any of the normal conversation is going to affect this game. I really, truly don't. I normally, if you're playing in 30, 40 degree weather, playing in a normal situation, I'd agree with you. I would start Ricardo Pepi. I would have had the conversation with him coming into this window as, hey, look, you're our guy. We're going to stand by you. We know you're in a little bit of a funk. We're going to try to feed you. We're going to try to get you going. We need to build you up. I hope that conversation's been had behind the scenes, but it's tough for a young player to understand why they've been kept out of this the way that he has. He would be my starter. He would have been my starter in at least 2 of these games. This is not normal, though. And it is, I hate to get away from the soccer conversation about it, because that's what we like to do around here, is actually talk about how things happen on the field. It's 0 degrees right now in St. Paul. 0 right now. The wind is 13 miles an hour. The temperature at kickoff is going to be somewhere between 6 and 2. The wind is going to make this really, really brutal. According to U.S. Soccer's recognized to recover cold weather guidelines, when the wind chill factor is below 0, which it will be tonight, those are extreme conditions, in quotes. The recommended action from U.S. Soccer for all of their members in these moments is to, quote, cancel or attempt to move activities indoors. Frostbite could occur. If you didn't know, U.S. Soccer picked.
I just checked the real
location.
feel, and yeah, the wind chill right now is 18 below.
Yeah, it's 13 miles an hour wind, and it's 0. It's not going to warm up much. The high, I think, is 7 today. Like it's
it could, honestly, you know what the worst part is? It could be worse. Tomorrow, the low temperature is 13 below, and the high is 4.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got
tomorrow's going to be worse. Jesus.
You got a better day out of it. They picked this game. They picked this location. The explanation that, and Paul Kennedy, with a great backhand in his article at Soccer America, he talked about how U.S. Soccer picked this location, picked these 2 locations. They got a little lucky with Columbus because of Canada picking Hamilton as their site. They wanted to cut down the distances the national team would have to travel. Now, here's the sentence talking about the choice. It wanted to cut down the distances the national team would have to travel by charter between games, though the distance in time from a flight from Toronto to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Toronto to Orlando, a frequent site for national team games, is the difference of a little less than 2 hours and a little less than 3 hours. It's about an hour more in the air. On a charter flight, an extra hour in the air is worth it to not have to deal with wind chills in negative temperatures. That ain't rocket science. And this decision is absurd. I do understand the topic that is floated out there, and Dylan Butler talked about it with us yesterday, and U.S. Soccer has done this over the years where they pick locations to try to ensure a home crowd. One, I don't wish going to this game on anybody. It's even worse for the fans in the stands, and even more dangerous, to be perfectly honest. U.S. Soccer should not be putting their fans through this, period. And if you're selling I think we
talked about this on Monday.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talked about this on Monday. I think Nick was saying, like, whoever made this decision, make them sit in the stands. Not on the field level where the heaters might actually impact them. Make them sit in the stands. Outside. You don't get to sit inside. When people don't show up for this game because it's going to be frostbite temperatures, yeah. And look, as someone who is a proponent for putting teams through cold weather environments, with this idea of home field advantage, like my idea was Chicago, because of the idea of, hey, lake effect snow could make things inconvenient for a team like Costa Rica or a team like Mexico, or a team like Panama, who you want to blow the tread off their tanks. But man,
and I'm fine with
one
that.
thing where it's going to be in the 20s and snowing today. Yeah, right. It's going to be in the 20s and snowing. That's tolerable. The whiteout in Denver will live in infamy forever for a reason. But man, there's a difference between doing that and sending them to play at a place that makes Hoth looks like summer.
You know what the temperature was for the Snow Classico in Commerce City? 29 degrees. Yeah, you had the snow to deal with.
Yeah, let's say it was. It would be 26 at kickoff in Chicago with snow.
Yeah, you could have played in cold weather. You could have made it difficult for Honduras. You could have played in a place that would have had fewer Honduran fans. I am completely over the fear that U.S. Soccer can't sell tickets to their fans for these games, and if they can't, then that's on U.S. Soccer. I'm tired of putting these players through this. I'm tired of putting the fans who are going to go to this game tonight through it, because there's going to be people who come out of this in worse shape than they went in just to go watch a game. On the field, it's not going to be as much of a problem. There will be warmers installed above the benches. There is a heated playing surface that will help. It's going to be a problem, but it's not as bad as it just playing on a park field with 0 degrees and -10 wind chill. It's going to affect the officiating crew. It's going to affect the fans in the stands. It's going to affect the players who are trying to warm up. It's going to affect the ball. And we've seen that in these 2 games for the U.S., a team that wants possession, a team that wants to work the ball, a team that wants to make, good passes. It's harder to do that with a ball that is literally harder because of the conditions you're in. It does affect it. Little things like that U.S. Soccer, because of this
Good
decision,
luck to anyone who tries to head the ball.
Yeah, that's part of it too. But U.S. Soccer, because of this decision, has brought that to the table. Not the tactics, not anything else. And yeah, as Gilroy says on the Twitch pitch, the game has mostly sold out. There's still a few tickets left. I don't know if it will be full because of the conditions. I think some people will probably say, "Yeah, I'm not doing this. I'll watch it on TV." It's absurd. And Tafka, like, I don't think you can even get into that situation of the players choosing not to play. I mean, the players haven't said anything about not wanting to play this, so that's not even a topic of reality. But when you get into not playing a World Cup qualifier, it's not as simple as like forfeiting the game and then you lose, you don't get any points out of it. You could be kicked out of World Cup qualifying. The players aren't going to do that. I don't know all the FIFA statutes on this stuff, but U.S. Soccer is a decision, and this isn't on the players to make the decision. This isn't on the players to decide not to play. It isn't on any of that. I don't know. One question was about, could clubs make a stink about putting their players through this? I mean, they'd have to make a stink to U.S. Soccer about it, and I'm sure some of them probably have, but I don't know really what they can do. I mean, there's really not going to be anything that I know of here that the referees could say, yeah, it's not safe conditions, we're not playing it. The smartest thing that U.S. Soccer could have done, and they absolutely could have done this, I think, with at least some lead time, is move the thing down the street to play where the Vikings play. Once you saw what the conditions were going to be,
I don't know if
we've known this for a week. It's wide enough. Yeah, it's wide enough. You could have done.
I don't know if that field's big enough. Oh, is it wide enough? Okay, I haven't done the research on that one, so I didn't know for sure. But okay,
I'm almost positive. But hey, I'll take begging the waiver of playing on a 70 or maybe a Yankee Stadium 70 and figure out how to make that. Hamilton was 70, Yankee if that. 70. I'll take that.
Hamilton was Yankee Stadium 70.
Yeah, Hamilton might have been closer to legit 70, but I'll take any of that over frostbite. And U.S. Soccer didn't even, that wasn't ever a consideration from anything I know. This is the,
as Johannes says, they refuse to play on turf, right?
Yeah.
So they'll play on ice.
Yeah, it's not even going to be that. Like, that's what's so weird about this, is with the extreme cold, but plus the heated field, plus the warmers over the benches, those kinds of things. Like, it's hard to tell what the conditions to play in will be. And we're focusing on the game itself and how that will play out. And we just don't really know. It's going to be bad, but we don't know to what degree of bad. The fact that U.S. Soccer is asking people to pay money to sit in the stands that are not heated for this.
Are they still charging the usual stupid U.S. Soccer prices for this?
Look, Jared, they didn't give a cold weather discount. No. It's
that's what I'm asking.
I know they didn't give one. they don't do that. You think they're going to do that? Come on, they don't care. It's so wrong of a decision. And if they don't get 3 points tonight, I do not want to hear anybody complaining about these players who have to deal with this. I don't want to hear it. I don't care. I don't care if somebody whiffs on a shot. I don't care. All of the blame needs to be at the U.S. Soccer Federation for making this decision, because you have brought chaos by your decision to play this for stupid reasons, mostly fear, you have brought chaos into this equation. And if it is a scoreless draw because both teams are miserable, if it's a crazy fluky Honduran win, if the U.S. doesn't get 3 points in this, we can talk about the game tomorrow. Sure. We can talk about it from a soccer sense, and we can try to, and we won't be fair because the players are having to deal with things they shouldn't have to. U.S. soccer has made one of the dumbest decisions they have ever made, and that's a long list. That's not easy to get on that list at this point. They did it. Hopefully these players can find a way to get 3 points, because if they don't, then, well, March gets really interesting, and I'm not looking forward to it.
No, I'm not either. Depending on how this goes, March is going to be interesting either way because it's going to be a tight group. We're going to see how Costa Rica does tonight to kind of try to keep themselves in shouting distance. Because let's say Costa Rica loses tonight, and you get that space between Panama and Costa Rica developing. If Costa Rica falls off a bit here, then you end up in a situation where it's not perfect, but it would honestly make me feel a little bit better if the worst case scenario is you're fighting for a playoff. I don't want to go to a playoff. I'd rather finish first or second in the group in the octagon. Don't get me wrong, but if someone can kill off Costa Rica for us in this, that'd be great.
They go to Jamaica tonight. That is a 7:00 kick.
That's tricky.
It is. But Jamaica had the game against Mexico with a lead. They did have a red card, but they had a lead and they blew it in the last 10. It's tricky, but Jamaica is not that good either. Let's be frank. El Salvador's hosting Canada.
But it's like chasing a mongoose around.
Jamaica's just not that good. If they get anything against Costa Rica, it'd be a shock. Mexico and Panama is the one to watch. Mexico hosting Panama at the Estadio Azteca. That's 3 versus 4. Mexico and Tata Martino are in trouble. They have not, or they've won once in their last 6, if I'm not mistaken. Once in their last 4 in World Cup qualifying. They lost back-to-back. They are barely ahead of Panama. If Panama gets a point here, Mexico goes into the last month of qualifying with a favorable schedule, but zero momentum, and their favorable schedule didn't help them very much against Costa Rica because they couldn't get the result. They did play well. Keylor Navas played even better, but they didn't get the result there. There's a confidence issue for Mexico right now, and they're going to be missing people today. Panama comes into this with a 4-point cushion to hold on to the playoff spot, but with the potential of a shock of moving into an automatic qualification spot. I think Panama goes to the Estadio Azteca with house money tonight and can play open and play free against a team that is terrified. Panama could go in and pull a shock.
I stand by that. I think even a draw might get the man fired.
It might. It very well might.
Context will matter, but draw might get Tata fired, especially if they think they can get Piojo in the door and just get this damn thing across the line.
Yeah, it is possible. That's the games tonight. So 7:00 Jamaica, Costa Rica. That everything but the U.S. game is on Paramount Plus if you want it in English. Mexico will be on TUDN in Spanish. But Jamaica, Costa Rica at 7. U.S. Honduras kick off at 7:30. It might be 7:35, but it's right at that time. El Salvador, Canada is at 9:00 in San Salvador, and Mexico hosting Panama is at 10:00. The watch along channel on the Discord will be hopping this evening. Just if you're not aware, the schedule when we get to March, 3-game window in March as well, which I hate the way this stuff was scheduled. The last window should not be a 3-game window because the 3-game windows are stupid to begin with. I get why you've had to do it because of COVID and things getting pushed back. I understand it, but this game, 3rd game in general, is very difficult because players are wiped out. And now the U.S. has added maybe frostbite into the equation. Good job. But the March window, a 3-game window that you got to deal with fatigue. You got to deal with all these things, and you got to deal with the schedule that's in front of you. The U.S. goes to Mexico for the first game of it on March 24th. Costa Rica hosts Canada on March 24th. Panama hosts Honduras in the games between the teams that really matter here. Second game in the March window, Mexico goes to Honduras. USA hosts Panama in Orlando. El Salvador hosts Costa Rica. Canada hosts Jamaica. And then we finish up on the final match day. Mexico hosting El Salvador. Costa Rica hosting the U.S. Panama hosting Canada, which could be a very, very fascinating game by that point. I think Canada will be fine. Panama could be playing their way potentially into an automatic qualification spot. There's a bunch of tricky games in March.
There are. It's. I'm wondering if we come down to another situation like we had a couple of the last window where we go into that last game and you go into the last 30 minutes of the last game still not sure where everyone settles in of who goes to go to a playoff, maybe who's in, who's out. If Costa Rica takes care of their business, could be very interesting to see. To see kind of how it goes, to see who ends up where, who's putting themselves in trouble, who's getting themselves out of trouble. And man, let's go. As Mike Conti is going to join us in a bit, I'll go back to your point. If you lose 3 points tonight because you decided to play in the ice chest, buddy, 3 points could mean something. This is what, but it's also why I say if you can go get an early goal tonight, please do. Please just go put this thing away.
Please don't get frostbite. I hate that. I'm more worried about that stuff. Just in case you need a little more backup on this. The National Weather Service Twin Cities account at weather.gov is kind of an official place that has these sorts of notices when the weather is a problem. When the National Weather Service Twin Cities tweets, Arctic air with dangerously cold wind chills has settled in across the region. Wind chills of -25 to -30 are likely through tomorrow morning. If you have outdoor plans, be sure to dress appropriately as frostbite can occur in as little as 10 to 20 minutes. I think we play 90 minutes in this match. Yeah, this is good. Good job, U.S. Soccer.
Can you pause the game for heat breaks?
No. You could. No, because anything with hydration breaks are attached to the wet bulb temperature being over a certain thing. Yeah, there's nothing in the laws of the game that will allow the referees to do that. The only question is, could the referees come out and say that the conditions are unsafe and not agree to have the match happen? And then they're going to have to deal with CONCACAF and U.S. Soccer and everything going on there that I don't know how all that gets worked out. But yeah, that's the National Weather Service Twin Cities account. It's 0 degrees right now. It's -1 degree depending on what you look at. Wind chills 25 to 30 tonight. It's like -15 or so right now. I mean, you can't really postpone it for a card because the weather's worse tomorrow, and these guys got to get back to their clubs. Like, you only have a certain amount of time that you have them. So, and you only have March window. I don't want them to have to try to play 4 games in the March window and in a window they're already playing 3. I mean, this is monumentally stupid from U.S. Soccer to be doing this. They should have called They should have called U.S. Bank Stadium and wheeled in whatever they had to wheel in to play the game there a week ago when they knew how bad the weather was going to be. This is monumentally stupid. Please continue.
Oh, I was going to say, can we just borrow that medic from Brazil and see if we can get this game postponed on those grounds? And then maybe we'll see if it needs to be played.
Yes. I'm down for bringing that guy up. He wouldn't get out of his car. The taxi that got him there to the stadium late, he'd be like, "No, I'm good. I'm not. Just take me back to the hotel."
I swear to God, there's going to be 3,500. There's going to be 3,500 Honduran fans there tonight out of spite, and I will applaud them all and send them like hot hands and a personal heater.
It's so ridiculous. It's very upsetting, and I do not like where this could potentially go. But we'll see. I mean, look, and we already know all the different things that are on deck for potentially happening here if things don't go well. It's going to be an absolute nightmare to deal with the narratives and conversations and such. But that's the reality that is now brought to the fore. It is physically dangerous to be outside for as long as it's going to take to play this game tonight, even with a heated field, even with infrared heaters over benches and whatever other nonsense that they have to try to make this bearable. It's just maddening.
I'm excited to see people go down easy with contact just because the ground might be warmer than the air.
Jeez, yeah, it's going to be brutal. Jared, I think you're going to dip out first, but say hi to Mike.
Hey, Mike.
What's up, Jared?
Not a lot. I'm warmer than anyone is in Minnesota, and I'm happy about that. And warmer than you were probably never that cold in Pennsylvania, yeah?
I don't remember ever being minus 12. There was one time, early to mid 90s where we had off school for a couple days because like the wind chill was minus 30 or something. And I do remember that was a really big deal, but it was extremely rare. That only happened one time, and we had a couple days off school for it.
I can only think of one time that I've been in conditions like this tonight. There was a national NSCAA coaches convention in St. Louis in this time of year, and it was right about what it is right now, about 0, with the air temperature, and wind chill was about minus 10, minus 15. But I wasn't outside for any period of time. I walked outside for about 2 minutes to get inside the convention center, and that was it. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I understand what kind of cute idea this was to play this match in Minneapolis in February. Okay, that's cute. Ha ha, Honduras, take that. But when you're at this stage right now, like Topka even points out, you can get frostbite tonight if you aren't doing the right thing.
Yeah. You get frostbite by just being there.
It shouldn't be played. It should not be played in these conditions. And
if it was not a World Cup qualifier, if this was a match that was scheduled, if it was like a U.S. youth event, if it was a national amateur cup game, if it was an open cup game, anything that out in under U.S. soccer auspices, if it was one of their games, their recommendation as a federation in their cold weather guidelines is that it's postponed or canceled. That's what they say. They picked this place. They knew what the weather was going to be a while ago. They could have tried to move it inside at U.S. Bank, and that would have been the way to do it if you're stuck playing it in that area because of logistics. Pony up the cash to play it there. And if you got to play on turf, you got to play on turf. It's better than frostbite.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I don't know if there's something they're planning or something that can be done, like with jet heaters and, the same kind of hot seat benches they use in the NFL.
I'm with that. And I'm even past that part of it now because, they have to do all that. I think they've got some infrared overhanging heaters or something for the benches. I'm to the point where U.S. Soccer has asked people to pay a lot of money to sit and potentially get frostbite to watch this game.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, look, Minnesotans know how to protect themselves from that. I'm a little less concerned about that aspect of it because you can wear layers, you can wear gloves, you can cover as much exposed skin as you have to cover when you're sitting and watching. My thing is when you're playing, you don't have the ability to do that. And I'm especially concerned about the goalkeepers tonight. Now again, you can wear leggings and tights and all of that, but you're going to have goalkeepers standing in the middle of a pitch without much access to artificial heat. And I worry about them and the exposure that they may have. I think, when I did that Falcons game in Buffalo, Dave Archer explained to me that, a lot of people make a big deal of the cold when you're playing and, wow, how can that guy wear short sleeves in such cold weather and all that? And what Dave said is really, it's not as bad as you make it out to be, because once you're actually playing and the blood is flowing and the adrenaline is going, the body goes into a lot of natural things to kind of protect itself and shield out the cold. And when you're on the bench, there's enough resources in the bench area to keep you warm. So, but that's football. That's not soccer, where there are dead ball periods.
It's a different push on your body too. I mean, you're not playing hard for a few seconds, then recovering. You're running through these conditions for 45 minutes. You're gonna see people with muscular injuries. I just don't know how you don't. It's the third game in 8 days too, on top of all of that.
Yeah.
You're gonna see some of that. The ball is gonna react differently.
Jason, I'm gonna put it to you very bluntly. Okay, if Canada decided to play a match in Edmonton in February, let's say it wasn't USA Honduras tonight, it was Canada Honduras, and Canada said, "Hey, we're gonna be cute. Let's play it up in Edmonton. Haha, it'll be minus 50. Home field advantage and all that." I would be calling for that match not to be postponed, but unplayed, and Canada to get a points deduction. And look, I want to see the U.S. in the World Cup, but I'm stars and stripes through and through. I think we're at the legitimate point right now where if this match cannot be played tonight, I don't think it should be played. If it can't be played tonight, that's a points deduction for the USA. They had a number of different venues that they could have selected months ago. Even, and I think I brought this up on Sunday at Authentic, you could have played this in Kansas City and still had the cold weather advantage and all that. And there's a difference between playing in 20-degree weather and minus 12-degree weather. So I'm really, really upset at how this all turned out. And quite frankly, if this match cannot be played tonight, the U.S. Federation should be punished with a points deduction. I believe that. I want to see the U.S. in the World Cup, but this is a mess of our own making as far as I'm concerned.
You could have a week ago we were talking about the weather. I'm longer than that, but a week ago we were talking specifically about what the forecasts were, and there wasn't a lot of wiggle room on them. You could have, with the resources that the U.S. Soccer Federation has, the resources that if you need your help from your TV partner with Fox to get this thing done, you could have moved it down the road to Minneapolis, to U.S. Bank. Yeah, you would have had to play on turf. That's not something you generally want to do unless you could have done without it. You're not going to do it on short notice. If the field might have been a little more narrow, well, you just played on a 70-yard pitch in Hamilton. That was Canada's choice. All of that is better than what you're going to deal with tonight.
Yeah.
All of that is better. You could have done that last minute.
Well, here's another thing you could have done last minute. And it's not ideal, but we've seen this happen in NFL games. All right, the forecast has been pretty consistent for the last couple days. It's going to be negative 12. I know the hardworking people of St. Paul have worked very hard to stage this match, and a lot of people have paid good money for tickets. But what's the forecast in Cincinnati tonight? What's the forecast in Columbus tonight? And I don't know what it is, but find another venue. And it sucks. People are going to get refunds, and maybe you have to play closed door because you can't get everything put together in time, and that could be a disadvantage too. But you've got to find a way to play this safely. Yeah. And it's very, very easy to reroute a charter flight from Hamilton, Ontario to Cincinnati. It's very easy to reroute a charter flight. Where was Honduras over the weekend? Were they home?
They were at home for their first two games.
It's very easy to reroute a charter flight because we've seen it, Jason, from San Pedro Sula to Kansas City. Yep. You can do it. It's a logistical nightmare for the TV partner. It's a logistical nightmare for the fans. You're probably going to be issuing a lot of refunds. And I get it, Jason. Dollars are the biggest goal for the Federation. I get it. But you know what's a bigger goal than dollars? Making the World Cup. Yes. And you've put yourself in a position where you're making it harder on yourself to make the World Cup by doing this.
Yeah, and that's what I'm really disappointed about is this game is going to be more difficult than most of these players have ever had to deal with in their lives. You're not going to be able to play your normal game. Tactics are pretty much out the window. Like, you're going to set up a shape. You're going to know what you kind of want to do. You're going to be relying on instinct a lot, because it will affect the way that the game is played. What I'm kind of curious to see, and some have pointed it out on the Twitch pitch, Honduras is eliminated. They're out. They have no opportunity to go to the World Cup. They're done. Do they say that this isn't safe for us to play? Do they try to push that angle? I don't know. I haven't seen any whispers of it. I haven't seen any conversation about that in Honduran media, but it's just such an extreme mistake by U.S. Soccer, in my opinion, because the U.S. men's national team is a much more talented team than Honduras. There's just no way around it. There's no way to argue it. We know that talent doesn't always win games, but it gives you a much better advantage to do it. When you play in this kind of conditions, your talent gap that you have the advantage in, is nullified to a degree, because you can't display your talent playing in these conditions. You've seen so many American football games. We've all seen them in these kinds of conditions. The game is generally not what we're used to seeing in a 50-degree temperature situation. It's just tough. It's difficult.
Well, and let's take it a step further. How do you think Chelsea feels right now about knowing that Pulisic is going to have to play in these kinds of conditions?
Not going to come out of it in rosy shape, that's for sure.
How do you think Gonzalo Pineda is feeling about Miles Robinson maybe having to play 90 minutes as a center back in -12 weather tonight?
Probably and then with his hands over his eyes.
Right. I think also you're doing a disservice to these players' clubs a little bit. I mean, they've already returned Brooks Lennon injured to Atlanta United. I don't want them to return Miles Robinson to Atlanta with frostbite. Now, here's the one thing I'm going to bring up here's the one thing I'm going to bring up with US Bank, because I've seen this on the Twitch pitch. I think logistically, you're probably looking at an easier transition, believe it or not, to just play in an outdoor venue in a different city. I don't know if US Bank has the football line sewn into the turf, excuse me.
I'm not sure. I'll deal with that if I have to.
From a width perspective, and I know width was a conversation in Hamilton. I don't know what the dimensions are like at US Bank.
They've played international matches at US Bank.
Okay.
They've brought in grass, I believe, but they've played games there. So
that's good to...
Yeah, even if it's narrow, I'll take the waiver that you'll have to get from FIFA or CONCACAF or whatever if it's 68 yards wide and it's got football lines on it. I'll take that over what they're going to deal with tonight.
Yeah, it's just really unfortunate. And, first and foremost, I want everyone to stay safe. But I think it's a decision that really could cost the U.S. 2 or 3 points tonight. And that's not something they can afford to have happen if they're trying to get to Qatar. You can't afford to drop points in this match tonight.
No.
And I think this is a decision that puts the U.S. at grave risk of not getting out of this thing with 3 points tonight.
100%. And I don't like that's the conversation. I mean, I would assume Atlanta United Sports Science Department is now studying the potential effects of frostbite for a player who is going to be coming from St. Paul, Minnesota to Guadalajara for the second leg of preseason.
These are conversations we should never have in the year 2022 with air travel and indoor venue. It's a joke. Now, all of that being said, look, maybe the Federation's physio staff and sports science department has communicated that they are satisfied that the players can be protected tonight. And maybe they have some reasoning for that.
I hope. We'll see. Let's get into some other things before people start getting all a Twitter about things. Eric Lopez, this thing's taking a turn. We didn't expect it.
Yeah.
Looks like he's headed back to Atlanta. Something has broken down with Bonfield. It's hard to tell exactly what's going on here on the Bonfield side of things. They're not a very big club. And I don't know where they stand financially, if they were able to actually live up to the terms of whatever was agreed to, because he played in a preseason game for them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bizarre situation. It's not a great situation, really, for Atlanta United. If they had something targeted for use with that U22 spot, it really puts Atlanta United in limbo. It's my understanding that this is Eric Lopez's decision, that he did not want to sign with Bonfield. So if that's the case, that really creates an awkward situation now for Atlanta United, because either they have to find a way to move him somewhere else, or you're going to have kind of an unhappy camper situation with someone in your team. I know the reporting was that he was going to come back to Atlanta to be evaluated. I think I saw a Merlot report that Bonfield's trying to maybe stop this and convince him to stay.
Right.
But this is a really, really tricky situation here for Atlanta United, because we talked about doing right by the player, and you want to do right by the player, you want to do right by Eric Lopez, but you've got some club things that you need to take care of as well, and this is a big obstacle now to what potentially Atlanta United has planned to do with that U22 spot.
Yeah, there's a lot of chatter on the Bonfield side of this, people who cover the team and some of that there are issues on the Bonfield payment side of things.
Well, that might be one reason why a player would prefer not to sign with them.
Yeah, and I don't know if they were supposed to pay something upon arrival or what, or if there was commitment of a portion of salary that was going to be paid, and then that was reneged on or cut back or communicated that it couldn't be done. But really a lot of issues with people kind of pushing back on, like, hey, what's going on Bonfield? How did you mess this up? Seems to be the conversation out of Argentina around Bonfield.
Yeah, and again, like this is why I want to be careful. Like, I'm not blaming anyone. It certainly makes the situation more understandable with that context, but it still disrupts what Atlanta United's planning
100%.
to do.
100%.
So they've got to find a resolution, and quickly. I don't envision a scenario where Eric Lopez is going to play for Atlanta United this year.
It wasn't the plan, obviously.
But he's going to take, right, so, exactly. But currently he's taking up a roster spot. So hopefully it's resolved quickly. Hopefully it's resolved to the satisfaction of all parties, because you want to do right by the player. But it's an unexpected disruption. And your roster compliance deadline is still about 3.5 weeks away. So you have plenty of time.
Yeah. You've got leagues that have transfer windows open.
Yep.
Argentina does, Brazil does, Ecuador does, for example. I'm sure there were others in South America, but those are the three that I know of off the top of my head.
I think even an intra-league move is possible. I mean, there's a lot of different things you could do.
Could be.
But it's got to be resolved. And it's got to be resolved in the next couple of weeks. And, there's some urgency to that now. But it's an unexpected disruption, and it's just one more thing that they're going to have to navigate.
So here's the last I've seen from a reputable source. This was yesterday afternoon. It was actually Eric Lopez's father speaking on Universo 970 AM in Paraguay.
Great station.
Yeah, big fan. Love the morning show.
Yep.
Quote there, and it's translated, is, "We did not reach an economic agreement with Bonfield. Eric returns to Atlanta."
Okay.
There were negotiations with Vasco in Brazil. I added the in Brazil part, but he does not play in the first division. We are looking for someone who plays in the first division. So he wants first division minutes in a league somewhere. And Eric Lopez's father told Paraguayan radio that we did not reach an economic agreement with Bonfield.
No, I respect that. Quote. I respect that. And but again, I mean, that's his decision. That's the player's decision. And that's not something you really expect to have happen when you execute a loan agreement, especially when that player's been down there for a couple of weeks playing in friendlies.
Yeah.
It's not something you can predict or expect, which again really puts Atlanta United in a difficult spot. But I definitely respect where Eric and his father are coming from. Again, sorry to say it again, got to do right by the player. Player needs first division minutes, make it happen. So I'm very sympathetic to Eric Lopez's position.
I'd love to know what changed. because something was good enough to go and get the process started, and the club agreed to it. And it sounds like the player was driving where he wanted to go, just trying to read between the lines on what his father said. He's at least had a say in it. And then something changed. I would think, because I don't think they went there without at least some agreement of some kind of economic situation. And now that's changed. So it's a mess. It's not, Atlanta United's got to figure out a way to get him games. I don't know if they had plans for that U22 spot. There is time to get him somewhere else. That's absolutely doable. Again, there's windows that are open. But you got to find the right spot for him. And it sounds like he's trying to find a spot as well, because, I'm sure that if he's available for loan, he wants to find a good spot for himself. And okay, clock's ticking now, and that's a challenge.
Yeah. But there will be teams in need. And it could still be in Argentina. It could be in Brazil. It could be someplace, again, in North America. I think that's even possible. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know to what degree this is disruptive to Atlanta United. Like that's where I think there's always the jumping to conclusions. You might have a player that you didn't expect, which you want him to get minutes to develop. That is lower on that list of disruptions.
What's disruptive is if you have a player targeted that you want to sign with the U22 spot, and you were hoping, hey, maybe we could get that done in the next week and get him in training camp. I mean, I guess theoretically you're not in roster compliance yet, so you could still theoretically do it.
Right.
But you've got to be careful now that if you do that, you have to be 100% certain that you will be able to move Eric Lopez on somewhere else.
You kind of do. The other element to this and the timing aspect of it is something we don't know every bit to. You are about to, or you already have added allocation money with the sale of George Bello. We don't know what degree, and if that allocation money is now needed to buy someone down from a U22 spot or to move somebody different into a U22 spot or whatever to make you roster compliant and all that, then you might have to use that a little differently than you intended. But there's still time. That's the thing. That's the frustrating element of this is it appeared that you had whatever solution you wanted and the player had what solution he wanted. And now that has blown up and you have to work to fix it. And it's a pain, but it's not some catastrophic issue either, in my opinion. It's just a pain. It's a big pain.
Agreed.
So, we'll see. Got you for a couple more minutes as we've learned a little bit more about Bello, and he's at his first training session over at Bielefeld. He might jump straight into the lineup there because their left back from Panama was injured in their last qualifier, and Bielefeld has a big game on the weekend. Bello might be needed straight away.
He'll be ready. I don't have any doubt about that. I think he'll be ready. I don't know how much training he was doing with Atlanta United with all this discussion in the works, but I get the feeling he'll be ready. It's a great challenge for George, and I think he's up for it. I think, their fans have been really, really warmly receptive of him, which is great to see. I think George will make those fans very pleased. I think he'll be ready for this.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity. He might get thrown in at the deep end in a big game for them against Borussia Mönchengladbach on the weekend on Saturday. Just because of the injury issues, they cleared a backup left back who was on loan there. They sent him back to Genoa in Italy to bring Bello in, and he might be needed day one. And yeah, I think these fans are going to get behind him. It looks like, actually, too, to add to this really quickly, the restrictions on fans in the stands in Germany appear to be easing. They might have 10,000 in the stands for this game on the weekend.
Yeah, that's good. That's huge. That's huge. It definitely seems to be trending in that direction around the world.
Yeah, there's been a couple that have still had some issues, but looks like Germany's getting back on the right side of things. We got stoppage time today at 2:00. We'll talk more about all of this stuff at that point.
Very much looking forward to that, and a lot to get into. And I'm really excited to kind of recap what happened in Athens as well. That was a really good time.
Absolutely. We'll talk to you at 2, Mike.
All right. See you, Jason.
Let's add Jarrett back into the mix. Tag in, tag out. Jarrett, we talked about Eric Lopez. People are getting sad, I guess, about everything because now there's an issue that has to get resolved. I don't know if you heard the quote that I had from Eric Lopez's father on Paraguayan radio. Sounds like it came down to the economics of whatever the agreement was for him at Bonfield. It's a problem. It's a pain. It's something that you had resolved that now is not. But there's time to deal with it. It's just every day that goes by, the options for where he can go get a little more limited.
They do, and this does make sense as to why we didn't see an official announcement from Atlanta.
Well,
I
yeah,
know
there's that.
Bonfield had their announcement, and everybody, I think, was wondering where the Atlanta announcement was. Turns out there was no Atlanta announcement because everything wasn't, signed and finalized yet.
Yeah, it's how these things go. I mean, when you're dealing with different clubs worldwide and you're dealing with different situations and you're dealing with loan agreements where percentages of salaries are being picked up. No, I don't think every club in South America wants to pick up his entire salary, as has been reported by the MLSPA. It's over $500,000. A lot of clubs who would like to have him play there that don't have that kind of money. It's why players come to MLS in the first place, because they get paid pretty well.
And on time.
That too, you're dealing with percentages and you're dealing with what that breaks down, but that's part of the commitment to all of this. And it sounds like something broke down in this deal with Bonfield to where it sounds like Lopez doesn't want it, and that's what the breakdown is.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, if and where he does go somewhere, what happens with it. Because, yeah, I mean, look, Lopez came with hype, and it didn't really materialize for him. And maybe
It's
getting his head
young.
cleared somewhere else. Yeah, just because that's the next thing is he's young.
Yeah.
Let him get his head cleared somewhere else and come back. And his story is not written by any stretch of the imagination for me. So let's not think you're casting him off as a complete and utter failure. Like, he's still very young. He could still develop into someone who contributes in a very big way for the club.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just for some narratives out there, never take a chance on a signing. That's impossible, by the way, because every signing is taking a chance. But taking a chance on a younger player who you're expecting to grow into something more, there's no guarantees with any of this. There's just not. And there's always challenges. You're going to have hits. You're going to have players that need more time. You're going to have players that, like Manuel Castro, for example, that you bring in on loan. It doesn't work out. He doesn't quite show you what you need to make that deal permanent. And he goes back to Estudiantes, and he's one of their leading scorers the next season. This is the game that we all follow, and this is not new to any of us who follow it. We've seen this at every club in the world, where sometimes young players aren't quite ready to be what you'd like them to be at 18 or 19 or 20. But they might be that at 21, might be that at 20, might be that at 22. You don't know. And we'll see what happens with Eric Lopez, but he needs to play. I think that's the general conversation that we've had coming into this season is he needs playing time. He has very little at the first division level. That was something his father said, is he wants first division minutes. He does. He needs them. And he showed promise at times. He showed some explosiveness at times. There's things about his game that I really like. There were times that I felt like he was lost in more of from a tactical sense, from a game model sense. He was lost with his movement. He was lost with his defensive responsibility. Some of those things, because as a young player, and especially breaking through and where he played at Olympia in Paraguay, he wasn't really being asked to do much of that. He was up front. It was go score goals. Okay. Here, and at a higher level of play in general, you have to do more. The game's harder. It's more difficult. You can't just wait for the ball to come to you. You got to make the right moves. You got to make the right runs. You got to open up space for others. You got to be able to lead the press. All kinds of aspects to it that some players get faster than others. He needs time. He needs games. He needs to continue to grow. Hopefully he can get that. This doesn't look like it's going to be at Bonfield, which is a shame because Bonfield is generally a club that does a good job developing talent, but they're not a club with a lot of money.
Like I said, we'll see where that lands because, the window, it's to your point, as you said, every day it's going to get a little bit more narrow on where you can send him, but hopefully they'll send him somewhere where you can get those minutes and he can develop, and then you'll see what else Atlanta's got going on. Now you got to make sure that roster compliance is coming up. Everything should be in good shape. Everyone around the league's going to have to start making these moves to make sure everything is in good shape. still wondering if we ever get to a point where we see loan deals between MLS clubs, like
Well, we saw one last
becoming a
year with
more
Andrew
well, I
Goodman.
mean, yes, I know, but like more common ones.
You might have to do that here because that might be the best option for him to get minutes, but he's got to go somewhere where he would. Where that would be is not an easy answer, I think. I don't know if there's a club in MLS right now that he would go to and he would play consistently. Because that's what he needs. He needs to go somewhere where he's going to play.
Yeah.
Like going to play for Atlanta United 2 isn't what he needs. It doesn't sound like it's what his father wants. I don't know if his father is officially his representative or just being his dad and advising. But if first division minutes are mentioned, then playing for the twos isn't what you're looking for. Being loaned to a USL championship team isn't what you're looking for. Liga MX window's closed. That had been mentioned in the past for him. Brazil, yeah, there's clubs. The money side, that's going to be the problem, is the clubs that maybe have the space on the field to play are going to be the ones that financially are going to be more of the issue. And can they pay part of his salary? Can they contribute to that? Can they do that? Because, and it goes back to MLS roster rules, there has to be some kind of give and take when it comes to that for spaces to be opened up and a U22 initiative slot to be opened up, for example. Because if not, if you're just sending a guy away to play, I don't think you get any roster relief. And if that's the case, Atlanta would probably want him for depth here. So it's a lot of moving parts, but those parts had moved to work, and now they've moved to not work. So this is where you're at. I can't think of a team in the league right now that for an intra-league loan, Jarrett, that he would be getting more playing time guaranteed than here straight away. I don't think there's a starting spot for him somewhere.
No, I don't either. I'll send him to San Jose and just see what happens.
Playing for a manager like that's a good thing, but
I don't know how long that manager's going to be there.
And that's actually an interesting point you make, because Chris Leach spoke to Tom Bogert, had an update on San Jose over at MLSsoccer.com, and there's two quotes. The first one that was used, I think, makes it sound one way. I'm going to do them in the other order from the article than the way it was posted. Chris Leach, the new general manager there, he said that the relationship with Almeida and the club is strong. He's fully committed to the Quakes. He said, "My relationship with Matias is great. I have so much respect for him as a coach and as a man. To have spent every day with him, watching him work and trying to collaborate with him as we've added pieces along the way. It's a great relationship. In preseason, he's been super upbeat and positive. The way he motivates these players is unlike most coaches I've seen." Now, the first quote in the article about Almeida's future in general is, look, he's in the last year of his deal. We share the common goal of wanting to win, and the rest will take care of itself. That doesn't sound like a positive quote, which it's not, but it's true. The second quote's far more positive about Almeida. Almeida's not there past this year. I mean, I don't think it's even really a story at this point. I think he's got one more year in his deal. This is going to be it. Does he finish the season out? That's up for discussion, because you could have clubs come in the summer, and if San Jose is where we probably expect them to be, somewhere between 6th
Fun,
and 10th.
but not great.
Yeah, 6th and 10th in the West, competing for a playoff spot, but not ensuring anything. I just don't think they have the talent to be, definitively ahead of the Seattles, Colorados, Kansas Cities, even Dallas now with what they've done. They just don't have as much talent. So they're going to be behind them to some degree. They're going to be behind them. You get to the summer, if somebody comes in and offers you $1 million for Almeida to leave early, the club would probably be in good position to take that.
Yeah. And it's going to be interesting to see where they are on the table, because to your point, I don't know how good they'll be, but I expect them to be entertaining and be what they are. And that San Jose is, hey man, if you're like Saturday night ends with, wow, that was a really fun day of games. What do we have left? Oh, we have like San Jose and Cincinnati at 10:30 in San Jose. That's going to be appointment viewing, because San Jose's weird. They're fun. They're weird and they're chaotic. That doesn't bring trophies, unfortunately.
No, it doesn't. They can be entertaining, but when you're dealing, again, as it comes down to, it's an arms race. And when you don't have as much talent, you can be entertaining. You can have a good style. Your coach can make up some ground in the talent gap. But if you're just not as talented as other teams you're playing on a regular basis, you're not going to beat them on a regular basis.
Nope.
You just can't. And San Jose has fewer resources than most of the teams that they're competing with. It's just how the reality is of the league. Before we get in,
that's not why Almeida's going to leave. Almeida's used to running these teams with less resources. That's kind of his thing. Maybe not to this extent, but
right. That it is a factor. He's mentioned it so many times that it's got to be a factor in his head. But is it where he wants to go to, the Manchester City of whatever league he goes to? No, I don't think that's the case. But you need something to work with. They're just not spending much at all. He's gotten everything he can get out of this team. I'm not blaming where San Jose has been over the last couple of years on Matias Almeida's coaching. I don't think that's the reason why they haven't won a championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Other things on the board from MLS, in addition to DeAndre Yedlin, Miami is getting close to getting a deal done with Finnish national team winger/wingback Robert Taylor. He's 27 years old, played on the Finnish national team. We've mentioned him before, 20 matches for Finland. He plays with Brann in Norway, spent some time with Nottingham Forest in England. Father is from England. Norwegian media has reported that it is nearly done for Taylor to join Inter Miami. Portland got the deal done for one of their young Argentines, David Ayala. Ayala joins from Estudiantes. He'll be a U22 initiative slot, $2.6 million transfer fee plus bonuses. 19 years old, 3 seasons for Estudiantes, 32 appearances across all competitions, was part of Argentina's U17 World Cup side in 2019. The Alan Velasco deal got finalized on Dallas's front. We knew that was coming. About $7 million up front to Independiente, plus potential bonuses, I think, of up to another $2 million or so. He's 19. He joined the first team at 16, 10 goals, 10 assists in 71 games across all competitions. He was part of the U17 Argentine national team that won the South American U17 championship in 2019. I don't know if he was part of that World Cup team later in the year. St. Louis has made their first signing ahead of their start next year. Bosnian national team left back Selmir Pedro is joining the club. He will stay with FK Sarajevo for the interim and join St. Louis in July. So he'll probably come in and play in MLS Next Pro in the second half of this year with St. Louis, who will field a team in that. And then he will be part of their roster for next year. So St. Louis already getting on the board. Montreal brought Rudy Camacho back as well, which had been expected for a little while. He's out of contract. He comes back. Montreal's in pretty good shape with their defensive depth now. Charlotte won their first preseason game, Jarrett, 3-0 over the Grenada national team. Big win for Charlotte.
Good start. Hey, man, Charlotte's had a really chaotic last.
Yeah, it has.
Oh, man, what do you want to call it? Call it like a last month or so. Good on Charlotte to have something positive to throw in there, because there's been a lot of folks leaving and moving around and readjusting and this, that, and the other, and Oscar Romero rumors. And, whoo, buddy, y'all dodged the bullet and got a win.
Yep. I'm going to go ahead and open up narratives down here, I guess. Y'all got questions. Go ahead and throw them in. We got about 20 more minutes. Stoppage time at 2 o'clock. That'll be on twitch.tv/stoppage time929. It'll also be on Facebook, facebook.com/929thegame. It'll live there. It's only live on Twitch, then it doesn't stay archived there. And then the podcast edition will go out to your podcatchers on the Off the Woodwork folder. Those are the official things from the MLS front. Charlotte linked to other signings as well. Hasn't been officially announced as of yet. Good signings. They're starting to get their group together finally. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to start any narratives by saying that, maybe their roster's not fully done. Thank you, Gustavo, watching the show with us. Good stuff. Velasco did play in the 2019 U17 World Cup. Thanks. MLS only mentioned the South American Championship, which I was kind of like, did he get hurt or something and not play in the World Cup? Thank you. And welcome back, Gustavo. So we'll get into questions from everything you guys want. Wile E. Coyote, absolutely. There's a huge Bosnian population in St. Louis. So that being their first signing, I totally get it. And it's a national team level player. So I'm curious to see how he adjusts to MLS. Players coming in from Eastern Europe, from Scandinavia over the years has been more hit or miss in joining MLS clubs and adjusting quickly. So there's always that question in the back of my mind with players from those leagues.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I kept thinking, I was like, we have Bosnian population here too. We had a Bosnian community
Yeah.
right near my high school. Bring
Yeah.
them here because our field goal kicker was Bosnian. Dude could kick a ball 8 miles. I know because I had a broken arm freshman year after a crackback block, and my job was to hold for him during practices and make sure my other arm didn't get broken.
You have a broken arm, so your job is to hold for the kicker in practice. That makes sense.
Yeah, worked out perfectly actually. Yeah,
I guess
my left arm was fine. I just sat there and held the ball still, and he taught me. He said, "Hey, don't move your hand off the ball because if I miss, I'm falling and getting hurt, and I'm coming after you."
Fair enough.
It's pretty much the gist of that conversation. But yeah, it's a fun move, and it'll be interesting to see how it reacts to the community. And this is something we talk about with all these teams about relating to the communities nearby. Like when you brought in Bastian Schweinsteiger to Chicago a couple of years ago with a large German community there.
Mm-hmm.
If you do this for St. Louis, we talked about Chicharito going to LA. It just kind of lines itself up.
I get it, and there's players who fit on the field and fit that kind of a profile that you're looking to add. I think signing players based off nationalities and demographics can lead you into bad decisions. Doesn't always, but it can. And we'll see if that's the case with St. Louis's initial signing. I don't think they're asking him to come in and be an MVP, but can he come in and adjust and do well? That's always the question. First question on the board this morning in our Q&A segment from Five Takes. What's the latest on Jurgen Damm? Mexico window is closed. There was talk of him moving to a Liga MX team. The talk directly with a Liga MX team was a long time ago. I don't know how long ago, a few weeks ago at least. The last rumor that both Doug Robertson and Felipe Cardenas tweeted about from it was at a training session. They said that a move was imminent for Damm. They did not, neither one specified that Liga MX was the destination. According to FIFA's paperwork that they have posted that is public, the Liga MX window ended yesterday. So the latest was those tweets that a move was imminent for him, and there has not been anything else. So I don't know. I don't know what's next with Jurgen Damm. I believe he's with the team in preseason training. I know he was there, at least according to his Instagram, on Saturday, I believe, in Marietta. So I don't know what's imminent or anything else, but those tweets were last week or the week before?
Well, last week.
Last week. There's been so much that happened all at once. I think they were late last week, and there was never anything further. So I don't know. I'm not sure. Let's see. Sam Williamson. I don't know who. I haven't seen a travel roster or anything for who made the trip to Guadalajara. The team did start a travel blog for their trip in Guadalajara that will have a lot of updates on it. Really cool initiative from the content squad. I'm excited to see that. I will be down there for the game on Sunday. I will be calling it solo on site in Guadalajara for the match against Celaya. There will not be a show on Friday from me because I'll be traveling. So I will be down there and get to call that game and probably have updates at that point. But I don't know what the travel roster was for that. I would assume that Joseph Martinez and Ronald Hernandez are en route. I would assume that hopefully a non-frost-bitten Miles Robinson is en route after tonight. I'm sure he'll want to get out of St. Paul as fast as possible and get to the warmer climate of Guadalajara.
I mean, God, I hope so.
Yeah.
Can't imagine wanting to stay in Minneapolis any longer than you have to in this situation. Heard it's lovely in the summer. But
yeah.
This ain't the summer.
No, it's not. Gustavo's on vacation, so he gets a chance to check in. Gustavo's been working hard lately. Had a chance to talk to him a few times over the last few months. He's been working really, really hard lately. Been a very busy man. Glad he's on vacation and gets a chance to check in. We're always here, Gustavo. You know that. We're always here for you, my friend. No, it is just me solo in Guadalajara. Sorry to set you up for disappointment. I know there will be lots of comments, but yep, I'll be flying solo from Guadalajara on Sunday. Scheduling can be a little difficult in the preseason with trips like that are multiple days with Mike having, for example, Mike having Hawks duties. Kevin Egan can't get away because he's got to be able to deal with wrestlers yelling at him on a regular basis. So you're stuck with me. I'm sorry. I apologize in advance. My bad. I'll ask Ron Killings if he'll let Kevin Egan come next time. I think they're good friends, Jarrett. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, just if we can't get Kevin Egan, can we get Kevin Patrick? Ask him that.
Well, yeah, there's that. They're not the same person. I forget. I always get weird by that. Yeah, totally. Yeah, my
always
bad.
Unsettling.
Once
my
again,
God, that's who the surprise entrant into the Royal Rumble should have been, was Kevin Patrick.
No, he wants no part of that. He would run faster than anything you have ever seen if that was made to happen. He would be running the other direction out the door. C-Note wants to know if Eric Lopez will have a chance to reestablish himself with the team. I mean, yeah, if there's nowhere else to go, of course. It's not an Ousmane Dembele situation where you're going to banish him to the stands and there's no point. Like, Lopez is under contract for a period of time. You want that contract to come good. You want him to come good. So if there is nowhere for him to go, yeah, he'll have that opportunity to reestablish himself. He'll have to earn playing time. And that's the thing that is the balancing act here that I think top clubs have to deal with. Is you want to go and recruit talent. You want to go and, in a cap league, you got to find young talent that can develop and outperform contracts, outperform transfer fees paid, all those sorts of things. You got to find guys who can be assets to sell down the road and improve your cap space. But you got to win too. You got to win games. And if he is a top performer, he'll absolutely be reestablished with the team. If he's not performing at a high enough level in training, he won't. And that's really what it'll come down to. I think that's why they were looking for a loan for him in the first place. So there'd be more of an opportunity for him to develop and play than he would get here.
Just have to see where that possibly is.
Yeah.
No, hopefully it is someplace he's getting first team minutes so he can take that next step and come back and contribute.
Question from Ricky Ricardo. Thoughts on Trinity Rodman's future with her new deal and potential national team? I don't know the terms of her new deal. I think it's smart to sign her to a new deal because she's probably the most promising young player that the U.S. women's national team has. And if I had her on a club deal, it'd be locking her up for as long as I possibly could because big clubs are going to come calling to want to purchase her contract. Big clubs in Europe are going to try to get her under contract. She should be the face of the national team in this next cycle, in my opinion. She's that exciting of a player, and I hope that they go down that road. We'll see. We'll see what that looks like. But Washington re-upping her with a new deal and her national team future is incredibly bright. It's good business. And yeah, the future for her, she's the most exciting young player in the program.
Yep, agreed. Hopefully you're able to keep her stateside because especially with the way players are jumping over to Europe, I'd love to see them keep more of the stars here so we can get a chance to watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. People saying have fun in Guadalajara, get some lower division Mexican team gear. I'm not running around in Guadalajara. I'm trying to not get the COVID first off, and second, I'm there to work. So I got a lot of studying to do. I got to study up on Celaya, and so I can give you guys a good broadcast solo on this one. So it is a work trip. It is not a vacation for me. I'm just happy to get to call games. I love calling games, whether it's a high school game in Decatur last night or a game in Guadalajara over the weekend. I just love calling games and feeling the emotion that happens in these things. That's what I live for. So I'm excited to get to do it. But it is most definitely a work trip and a stay away from the COVID trip. Those are like my two goals in life right now: work and stay away from COVID. Jarrett, that's all I got.
And just try to do that. Then that's all I can tell you.
You didn't.
You know what?
You got the COVID. I so far have avoided it, at least according to
it
tests.
sucks. I don't
want it. I know. I don't want
recommend it.
I don't want it at all. You told me about it. I want no part of it.
What you should do is see if you can get from Atlas or somebody. See if you can get like somebody's academy kit that's a triple digit.
Get them? What do you want me to do with them?
Bring back the kit, the triple digit kit if you can find.
You want me to bring back the player? I don't think I can.
No,
bring him back.
The kit. No, that's called human trafficking. We don't do that.
I know. That's why I'm like, what are you trying to get me in trouble for?
Human trafficking.
I don't want that. I will
bring back the triple digit kit.
I will see if I can get a triple digit kit. That would be pretty.
Or have Atlanta do triple digit kits.
No, I don't think
that would be amazing.
Yeah, it would be cool.
Just Mejia out there in like 173.
It'd have to be like, it would have had to have been Luke Brennan or one of the 16-year-olds coming up to play. It would have had to be in like 300 something. I think it's like at the U21 group, you're in the hundreds, and the U19s, you're in the 200s. If you're in the U17s, you're in the 300s. I think that was what the numbering system was. So yeah, it would have been Luke Brennan in like 345. No, it didn't happen. Sorry. Uncle No Pockets question: has the Almada deal hit any new snags, or is that still progressing? I don't know. There hasn't been any reporting on it. There hasn't been really anything said on the other side about it. All I know at this point is that Atlanta United has that exclusive option to do a transfer with him. Price is locked in. Nobody else can get him until that option expires, which we don't know when that does. I assume that it would be this transfer window for MLS, which would take you to May. I don't think they'd want to wait till May, but I don't know the terms of it. I don't think there was anything about it progressing. I don't think that's maybe the right way to put it. I think it's just, is it going to get done or not? Does the club want to bring him in or not? And now they have the designated player spot to work with Barco, we're assuming, because of the loan to River Plate and what we know about those terms. We don't know if Almada could have fit into the U22 initiative spot that Eric Lopez would have fit, and that would have then been weird about them maybe going to get another designated player, which was not expected. But I don't know. I don't think there's anything really to progress on the Almada deal. I think it's a decision that has to be made. I don't know really what can be expected to progress in any of the off the field stuff, because that thing's been hanging out there for over a year now. And I have no idea what timelines that's working on, because there were reportedly timelines that there have not been any updates on weeks after those timelines were supposed to be hit. So I wish I had info for you, Unc, but I really don't know anything else. I think it's honestly just a wait and see at this point.
Yeah, I have nothing to contribute here because I'm in the same boat. Like I'm sitting here like everybody else at this point, kind of like waiting for updates. And then you have everything. Was it last month with basically the goodbyes down in Argentina?
Yeah,
and then it's just kind of floated along in purgatory. So it sucks to be sitting here waiting without getting the updates, because at least with Barco, with the boat watch back in the day, or with Villalba watch back in the day, at least we were getting updates every couple of days, even if they were weird and conflicting. Here it is. The waiting is the worst part.
Yeah, and I don't know. And look, I mean, run whatever direction you want to run with where things stand, because I don't know what to tell you, and I don't know what direction to point you in to run to either. So I know how this stuff goes by this point. I'm trying not to let it affect me. All I can tell you is what I know, and where things stand. I mean, I'd love to get whoever that impact player is going to be. And the question from Modaflow is, in a world where Almada doesn't come, what do you think the plan is? I think to sign an impactful player. Who? We've been down this road a million times. It's not always somebody, it's not always somebody that has been rumored, because usually we don't hear a lot of rumors. So I don't know. And look, again, Everybody's going to have their opinions about it. Doesn't really matter what I say. I'm going to get yelled at with whatever I say about it. So I'm probably best to just keep my mouth shut. They'll make the deal if it's the right deal for the club to make. And if it's not, then they'll move in another direction. They're not going to say, if this is not the right move to make, they're not going to say, well, we're just not going to sign anybody. We're just not going to really be all that competitive this year. Whatever. I don't think there's anything to back that up. So then I have to move in a different direction. And that would be the next step. I'm sure they have lots of lists of players and contacts and people and potential moves that they could make. I'm sure there is a plan A, B, C, D, E, go on down as far as you want. And it'll be down to making those moves happen. And that's really all that there is to do in this at this point. I think where we see some clubs fail in these moments is when you do put everything on one option. Just because people in the media aren't talking about what those other options are doesn't mean they don't exist. I think we've seen that over the years with this club. But Jared, I mean, we've seen this with, I'll say, lesser clubs, where it is down to, we are going after this person, this deal, this is it. Oh, crap, it didn't happen. Now what? And Atlanta's never really been in that boat. So if this doesn't happen with Almada, they'll make an impactful addition, in my opinion, because that's generally where they've been over the last 5 seasons.
Yeah, I think they'll do something. I don't know what it would be in this instance, but yeah, the longer this goes, I don't blame anybody for, Uncle included here, man. I mean, I don't blame anybody for kind of getting antsy about this thing dragging out and then starting to get a wayward eye of like, okay, what else? Where else could we be looking? Because if nothing else, they've shown the ambition to go try and get somebody to be a game-breaking sort of player. Now, whether or not that works, sometimes guys just don't fit. Pity Martinez in a lot of eyes didn't really fit. Now that Pity, I think he's back healthy. Hope he can get back to what he was doing at Al Nassr, which was really good work. I don't think they'll be shying away from doing something, maybe not to that extent, but chasing somebody who can be a game-breaking option.
Yeah, exactly. And that's just where it stands. So if that's Thiago Almada, that's who it will be. What the timing is of that, I don't know. I don't know if there is a timing issue that we just don't know about. There's a lot to, I think, the off-the-field component of the Almada decision that is unknown or is vague or is hard to follow. And could that be slowing things up? I mean, I think it's a guess that is not crazy to have. But if that's not the move that the club makes, if they do go in a different direction, then I would expect that would be done as quickly as possible. And that's just all I can guess on, to be honest with you. But I get it. I get it. And it doesn't make any sense for me to tell you anything different because we've played this game over the years. So I'm going to try not to drive myself crazy with it. I'll just tell you what I know and tell you how I see it and take it for what you will. And that's all we can do. You are still somewhat early in preseason. You'd love to get these guys in as early as possible. Absolutely. The earlier, the better. We know that's not always possible. And then it's down to acclimating on the fly. And hopefully the faster that can get done, the better again, because I think the more time you have in preseason to prep, the better you take away the possibilities of that adjustment needing more time. The more time you have to work off the field or off the match field and on the training ground, the better off you'll probably be going into that season. So right now you're looking at 25 days before opening day. So that's where things stand. And we'll see what happens. The team's in Guadalajara from now through, I don't know how long they're staying after the game's on the 13th. But they'll be back for the game against Birmingham on the 20th. And
it'll be warmer. I'd imagine they're staying until like the 18th or something just to make sure they're not cold.
Yeah. I don't know what the re-entry process is going to be for them coming back into the U.S. at that stage, but get ready for that Birmingham game. Then you're in match week for opening day. So we'll have anything that updates between now and 2:00 on stoppage time, twitch.tv/stoppage time 929. Facebook.com/929thegame. And you can catch it there later if you can't join us live at 2 o'clock at Facebook. You can also listen later on your podcatchers under the Off the Woodwork folder. That'll do it for us. If you have a chance to go back and listen to the video or the audio version I posted yesterday of Eric Morrison and Stephen Bivens. Eric is the president GM of the Georgia Revolution. Stephen is the GM / former striker, it sounds like, of the Georgia Storm. I had a chance to talk to both of them about their experience with Atlanta United, with preseason in this past week, what their plans are for the upcoming 2022 season. That is up on the podcatchers and on our YouTube page. So please check it out if you get a chance. And we'll be back tomorrow morning. John Nelson will be back tomorrow morning after telling everybody where their favorite high school football players have finally signed on the third signing day, whatever it is. However many opportunities these guys have had.
Don't tweet at recruits. How about that?
Don't tweet at recruits. Don't tweet at recruits today. Maybe don't tweet today because the U.S. men's national team plays later.
Never tweet.
And that's always dangerous. I will be following #never tweet. I might retweet some a little bit today. We'll see.
I'm still trying to get Do Evil to become a thing after the Jonathan Vial goal. The long goal.
Yeah, go check that one out if you haven't seen that one. We've all retweeted that one. You retweet. Maybe #retweet, #never tweet, and #do evil, according to Jarrett. #Moochplot to y'all as well. Yeah, what? Settle down, Jarrett. What?
No, I said Bilal did evil. Jesus.
He did, yes. That'll do it for us. Moochplot to y'all. Have a good one.
Moochplot to y'all.